Hello Year 7s, now we are going to demonstrate some rendering, and we're going to use this rendering into our David Hockney piece. And when we are rendering, we just need to make sure it's dark around the outline, and as it gets to the center it gets nice and light. And in order for you to get a really good score, we need to make sure that we demonstrate dark, medium and light, and it looks very luminous. Kind of gives you that 3D feel like we did practice on our HB pencils and sphere. When you get to demonstrate that to a very good ability, you're actually working with Secure here to demonstrate the skill, and you're going from an easy 5, which we demonstrated using a tonal shading, to then a good grade of 6. So we're going to use a nice bright color to go ahead with this. I like to use a dark color just because it shows up more when you get to use it. You can see that purple there. So I'm going to go ahead, pick any section on your A4 David Hockney piece, and go ahead and start that demonstration. I'm going to use a small piece just because I'm demonstrating. I don't want to use too much of this time for the video. I want to demonstrate that nice and clear. So I'm going to pick this section here, and I'm going to start off by outlining it with a sharp pencil. Make sure you've got a sharp pencil and you're working with a good edge, and use a medium to dark pressure, and you want to outline it nice and easy. To really score it in, but remember, keep your outline fairly thin. You don't want it too dark. And then immediately after that, I'm just going to go ahead and start using that circular motion and start pressing it down, and then releasing that pressure as I start to pass into the middle. I'm going to keep this middle shape nice and light. I'm going to go ahead, do one side, go ahead and do the other side as well. And I'm making sure my pencil pressure is nice and smooth. Because I outlined using a dark pencil pressure, my pencil is slightly blunt for me to work with, which is perfect. Now all I'm doing here is making it go medium and then very light. All you want to do is make sure your pencil pressure is nice and light, but just leave the center nice and white. We're going to do the same thing here, go upwards very quickly. Use that circular motion. It really helps to make your tones look super smooth. And I'm going to go ahead and do that and stop there. Not going to go too far. I want to keep some areas nice and light. And fill any gaps in with my first layer. Make sure no white spots are left there. And as I'm working through it, I'm going to go ahead and stop. Now what my goal is to make sure that this dark tone can blend into these light medium tones, and in order to do that I'm going to work with small circular motion. And as I am doing that, I'm just going to pass that along and make sure that the center is nice and light still. I'm going to work with these two shapes first, then I'm going to do the bottom. And if you notice, I really don't take that color more further than just the edge. I'm just applying a little bit of pressure using circular motion on my edges, and that's it. That's all you really need to be doing. You don't need to press that color all the way down. There's absolutely no need, and that's all we're going to do. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Make sure that you are applying the right amount of pressure where you need it. And continue to remember to use circular motion when you're blending it outwards, and release the pressure so your hand doesn't cramp because you're holding it too tight. So loosen it up ever so slightly and continue to work in smaller motion. Your hand will not cramp that way. I do work in a straight line, just the edges, just because I can really score in that dark tone. Then I remember to just use that circular motion just to buff out. And that's all we're going to do. I'm just switching sides, making sure it's nice and smooth, and now I'm going to move on to the bottom there. So I'm going to score in that dark line again, and then remember circular motion. Continue to use that circular motion, and go back into the edge, just make sure it's nice and dark. We don't want any light tones hiding between that, and just use that circular motion. And go ahead and bring that tone up. Get lighter and lighter as you're bringing it up. Continue using that circular motion. Fill any gaps up in between. And go ahead and you can take a look around and see where else you need to bring those tones in. and you should be left with something like this. Now, no, you are not complete. You are still working on your third layer. Now, for your third layer, what we're going to do is, before we finish off the middle with some light tones of this dark blue, we are going to go ahead and blend anything that's not blended. If you look into these little edges, we're just going to make sure we blend it. This is working on our third layer and improving our second layer. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a lot of pressure in the corners, just so it's nice and smooth. You can see it starting to blend a little bit more better together. There you go. And I'm going to do the same thing on each of the ends. But remember, I'm pressing it in here. I don't really press it in there. I'm making sure I stay away from the center. And once you're happy where I'm at now as well, quite happy with that, all you're going to now do is go ahead and very, very lightly, look how light I am with my tones. I'm very light with my pencil pressure. Now, using this pencil pressure, I'm going to apply it to just the center of my rendering section here. Look how lightly I'm bringing it, and I'm circling it around the shape as often as I need, and I'm still going over the same area again and again. I don't move in. I'm moving it in again and again and again until I close that gap. Now, if you have a look now, it's starting to look a little bit more complete. You can see a harsh line in between there. Go ahead and apply a little bit of pressure. Remember, just to apply a little bit of pressure without bringing it too closely in. And you should be left with something like this. If you're happy with it, that's fine as well. I'm going to stop, otherwise you'll be here forever. And that's your rendering section complete. And I hope you're happy, and that is demonstrating some really good skills of secure skills of how to get to go from a 5 to a 6, and you can demonstrate that and apply that to your section there as well.